And welcome back to the finale of Dishonored, he says, if he alt tabs. Yes, that's right. I just had dinner, so it's time to finish it off our glorious conclusion to this game. And towards the end, I'll talk about it and what made this game so good, in my opinion. What made the game so exceptionally amazing. But I've got to get back into the stealth thing and assume the game of position. Okay, here we are. So, we can try and sneak in on the left-hand side or try and sneak in on the right.
Fucking longer do I have? Fuck.
And we can fuck up. As per usual, we can just screw up completely.
Maybe win.
Alright. I should do some more quick saving, otherwise it's going to go, might be rather painful, isn't it?
Someone there?
Yeah, I should do more quick saving. I should do more quick saving. I bet the speed runs of this game are amazing. Meow. Down you go. Down you go, back into the hole. Alt tab. Okay, there we are. Where can I get up here? I reckon I can get up here without having to do much. And let's use the evil eye. We can try and get in via the gatehouse. Or we can go in via another route. Let's go in via another route. Damn.
Ain't any more big rat swarms?
I don't need shit from you.
Ah, my shit bigger than you. Huh? What the fuck?
Sorry.
The oil must be gone.
But these guys must love this posting. This is probably a real safe place. Well, it was until I came. Meow. I wonder if I can just climb up manually. Probably not. Oh, let's jump in through here. That's easy enough. Not many tall boys and that. It's all lovely and quiet. Probably because it's low chaos. I wouldn't say that the chaos system creates an entirely new game, but it does make it a bit more challenging and more unique the way you've got to traverse the map, which is pretty good, all things considered. So I like how you can play it with a slightly different chain of events.
Get your own squad after what happened last night? Never doubt it.
The Lord Regent. That's so lordy now, aren't you?
Neglected youngest son, bullied by your mother. Martin, such a clever. His talents wasted until he found his thing. Callista, who nursed me. Bitter at the end, dejected from the academy. Samuel, the useless old man, hungry for purpose. Couldn't be with us tonight. This is all Martin's fault. We hadn't helped Corvo get out of prison. Corvo hadn't been so damn good at his job. We hadn't gotten greedy, afraid. Always too sure that was my problem. Never hesitated. Too sure of what I wanted. Too sure of what I wanted to do when other men stopped to consider. Saw it as a weakness. I know Corvo's coming for me just like he came for the others. Crossing the island below like it was nothing. It's only a question of how and when. I'm lacking a countermove. It's all fallen apart. All the steps that led us here made sense. When I was young, I went to sea. Took command of a ship and made aimless men into sailors. Made a collection of boats into a navy. Then founded a conspiracy and almost led an empire. No compromise. Never showed mercy. Never showed weakness. I showed the world what mattered. Will and vision. And not being afraid of getting dirty. And now, I'll lose it all to a man with a faster sword hand. Or is it that he has a slower sword hand? There's something wrong with the world. It'll make a good story for the history. I'll have a good epitaph. In his time, he commanded a noble lord, a high overseer, an empress. The man who brought down a tyrant, Admiral Havelock, son of the high ocean.
Was it worth it, Admiral? Was it worth it? So they've all poisoned themselves. Well, these two have been poisoned by Admiral. Which of course is slightly different. I think when you come here they've already been poisoned, but Admiral Havelock's just gone mad and balmy with power, but this time he's just mournful and sorrowful about what happened. Looking back on his actions. Whereas if you do a high cost one, there's a bit more of a colossal ending with Admiral Havelock holding Emily hostage on the top of this building here. Where there's the final stand here, and I think if it's so high chaos, Emily dies, but if it's not high chaos, you can come and save Emily and have the final battle of Havelock. Which is another wonderful thing about this game.
We've done such things, cowardly things that I'm ashamed of. How could anyone ever forgive us? Would they? Even if things are better? No, that's not how it works. Once the bureaucrats step in, everything gets muddy. If anyone ever knew, we'd all lose our heads for this. So no one can know. And could we ever control Emily with Corvo around? That's the question that sticks in my mind. We need to make our final move. We need to make it cleanly. No loose ends. Only a few in the know. The ones with the most to lose.
We could not have done any of this without Corvo, and for that I will be grateful, but I fear he did not have the vision to see the future in Mr. Chief of Dunwall. We will not maintain our grip on the Empire of a little girl setting policy. I believe Corvo's loyalty to the Calderon woman will have clouded his head. Is she truly his daughter? We will take his Dunwall... Oh, that's a spoiler as well. We'll take, well, not really a spoiler, but that's the big reveal that actually Emily's probably your daughter. We will take Dunwall to the pinnacle of strength, but Corvo's role in this cannot ever be recognised. He must be vilified, and when I take the reins of the city of the Empire, I will be seen as hero and protector.
going to be okay now? Will I be Empress?
And thus ends the game. And of course, there's the expansion where you can play as
So
Dawood.
ends the interregnum, and now Emily Caldwin the First will take her mother's throne after a season of turmoil. You will stand at her side, Corvo, guiding her young mind and protecting her from those who seek to exploit her or cause her harm. You watched and listened when other men would have shouted in rage. You held back instead of striking. So it is, with the passing of the plague and Emily's ascension, comes a golden age, brought about by your hand. And decades hence, when your hair turns white and you pass from this world, Empress Emily, Emily the Wise, at the height of her power, will lay your body down within her mother's great tomb, because you are more to her than royal protector. Farewell, Corvo.
And that was the exceptional game Dishonored. It is a really remarkably good game, and I'm glad I remembered to go back and play it. It was during a time where, again, limitations on engines forced developers to be creative. Now, with the new stuff, with the new graphics cards and the new sort of engines, effectively, directors have so much almost limitless possibilities, and in consequence they perhaps don't have enough boundaries to build structure. And of course, within the boundaries of the old systems, it meant it forced developers to be creative and more in depth, and use what they had, pretty much like this PlayStation 2 era. But of course, as we've seen in the newer stuff, that stuff has gone to the wayside, and even with all this big budget and big spending, modern games just don't have that, or modern game developers just no longer have that ability. They get too spread out and too wide in their ambitions, or they just get lazy. This was a time when games had the potential to be great from the limitations, and this, as you can see from Dishonored, the maps are quite small. There's not a lot of enemies, especially in low chaos runs, but the creativity and the layers in each level made it a wonderful game to play, especially with its unique setting and great character building, great use of lore, which wasn't too overly cumbersome to read through. It meant that the game had a lot to give, and allowed it to be such a well-loved game. Equally, its story is exceptional with the sort of dichotomy between sort of the grey area of humanity and how people can fall, and how no one is really sort of innocent in their affair, and everything's a bit dirty. Even the non-lethal choices you choose are pretty dirty, whether or not it's sending Waverly Boyle to become some imprisoned love child of some nutter, or whether or not it's a case of sending the Pendletons to the mines. A good example probably is Granny Rags and the other gangster. I've got his name already, but of course you've got Granny Rags, who is basically chaotic, evil, wants to be left alone, but gives you power and shows you an insight into the other world. Or Slackjaw, there you go. Whereas of course Slackjaw, he's sort of more lawful evil, even though he's not the law, insofar as that he provides a cheap alternative of serums, which may or may not work. And of course, as you see when you first come to the first starting hub, his boys sort of terrorise the local civilians. And of course, it's that fight. Who do you choose? Less of two evils. Do you choose Granny Rags, who will just sort of go around still being a lunatic, or do you choose the gangster, who, although he's a gangster, has some also use in terms of keeping law and order within the streets and providing some help to the lowly peasants. It was a game of such great writing, and its graphics, along with its unique playstyle to make you as powerful as you wanted and creative as you wanted. It was a game that gave you so many toys to play with that you could make this game ridiculously easy. I expect there's speedruns online which can be done in seconds, and you can do some very creative things like stop send bolts and attach explosives to bolts and things like that, which I didn't do in my non-lethal run. But it gives you that realm of replayability, and you can tell what makes a good game great is the fact that you want more of it. However, this game did not overstay its welcome, and each level is unique and fun to play, even if you want to do a high chaos run. And that's what I really like about this game is the fact it's a condensed, juicy bit of a game to play. It is the chocolate mousse, the French chocolate mousse of video games, where it's small, but it's rich, very, very rich. I haven't played Dishonored 2, but I'll probably get around to playing it. However, I think this is a good one for memory lane, and for a time where, as you can see, AAA games are no longer what they used to be: dead, empty, soulless cash grabs, where they effectively just try and rinse the consumer. You remember the fond old days of games like this. And I suspect the new generation needs to go back and play games like this to remember what they are missing out on and understand the new practices of the gaming market is definitely has seen a degradation in quality. This is back even before your 3080s or your 2080s. This was really back when, with today's standards, tech was very limited, and now you have things like Battlefield 2042 with this massive scale and supposedly great graphics, but all it has is just limited people's performance in the games, and it really hasn't added anything new or in depth or colourful. I feel like this was a time when developers were still somewhat good at what they did, and it wasn't corporate dominated. And yeah, it was an exceptionally good game. Hope Arcane does release some more Dishonored or Dishonored likes, because the setting as well was very unique. You could tell it was a labour of love, and I'm very glad it did very well for its time. It was during a time of Deus Ex, Human Revolution, and more sort of immersive sims where you went around doing RPG sort of elements and getting immersed in these new settings and colourful universes, which again with the current stuff hasn't really been going on anymore. Like, you don't really see new IPs with new wonderful settings with a sort of a mid-range budget, or you don't see you see sort of the old settings being rehashed over and over, and the old franchises being brought back from the dead just to be butchered at the hands of the incapable and the greedy. Still, I really liked this game, and I enjoyed replaying it, and I look forward to playing more from Arcane. I think I'm probably going to end up streaming a bit of Prey, the new Prey rather than the old Prey, now, once I've installed it, and then while I wait for Dying Light. But you can see the differences between the design philosophy. So this game is like, we'll have these small pseudo open world areas which sort of do funnel the player to an extent, but will fill it full of stuff you can do. Whereas of course places like Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed, where will give you a luckless story and loads to do, but it's all painfully repetitive and boring, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where you effectively just, yeah, it's lovely, the plot is okay, but you can only do the same thing on other islands over and over again before you go mad. And that's why I feel like sometimes engine or graphical limitations are to the benefit of game design, because it sets boundaries for developers and says, okay, this is how much I can do within the restrictions of the engine. So what else can I do after I reach that point? Oh, I'll add a bit of this, I'll add a bit of that. Whereas if you've got boundless possibilities, you end up with no direction, and you end up sort of a half-made mess. You already know the sort of games that are half-made messes. But this was really back during the Renaissance period of Xbox 360 and sort of that era, where games were still unique and nothing was so corporate and soulless. Although I still believe the PlayStation 2 era was the best, because that was where, again, engine limitations allowed for more colourful and unique settings. Still, it's something to look back fondly of, and hopefully in future we'll see more games like this, but there's been nothing in the works. I think definitely Outsider didn't do very well, but that's probably because people thought it was a DLC expansion rather than actually a standalone game. And the thing with Dishonored 2 was the fact that it sadly had too many performance issues, but I will go back and play that eventually. Anyway, it was a remarkably good game, and I loved it. I loved replaying it and showing you it, and hopefully you guys can go online or go onto YouTube, where there's probably boundless speedruns, and be amazed by how quick players did their the missions and the creative things they did, which really made the game amazing. Yes, I don't really have much more to say, but I'll just let this run. But yeah, I really liked it. It was just a good game, and I don't know what's happened to video gaming, if I'm honest. Like it seems that for every one gem like this, the gems are getting rarer to find, whereas the modern games are becoming more and more paint by numbers, repetitive. No one's willing to take a risk on a new setting or a new IP. People are just trying to make the most money possible, or they've devolved into sort of indie green lights, which are fun, but you still want games like this. And so I'm hoping there'll be a rise of more AA developers and things like that. In any case, I believe I have got the downloadable content. I can play that, but we'll see if anyone wants it. So I've got the City Trials, the Knife of Dunwall, and the Bridge More Witches. But I think it's time for Prey, and so we'll give that a go. And so I thank you all for watching, and I hope in future, if you want, give this game a purchase. If you want something unique and different, I'd give this a solid 9 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, I don't give 10s out of 10s unless it's God's gift, but I'd give this like a 9.5 because it was wonderful for its time. In any case, that's me done for this Dishonored playthrough, and so now I'll go and play a bit of Prey and probably stream that for the rest of the day. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a good one. So, adieu.